This is going to be a very tough podcast to record today. Another loss, another depressing performance by the Pistons. Let's just get into it, man.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button, or you can leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this on. That's another great way to support this podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. So to open up this podcast, I want to make this very clear to you guys. I think a lot of you guys know this, but I want to make this very clear. I am a fan of the Detroit Pistons. I am a fan of the Pistons. I also have a job here. This is my job, recording this podcast, posting this podcast. And my job here is to be objective and to try to balance that fandom with objectivity and analysis. And I think I do a pretty good job of not being a fan on this podcast, of trying not to be too much of a fan, I should say, not letting my fandom cloud anything. I think I do a pretty good job of that, to be honest. Not today. So if you guys are going to be listening to this podcast, you guys are expecting just straight objectivity and no emotion, I'm letting you guys know right now, this podcast episode is going to be heavily influenced by emotion. I'm going straight from the heart here. Because I feel like all of us need to. We need this. We need this because we're going through it right now. And if we don't talk about it, and if we don't sit out here and release all of our emotions, we're just going to lose it. And we're only games, 5, 6 into the season. So we need to get this out the way. Listen, man. The Pistons just lost another game against the Washington Wizards. I don't even know where to start. I seriously don't know where to start with you guys. I guess we can start with Cade Cunningham because Cade is the face of the franchise. Cade is the biggest piece to this puzzle. He is the most important player on this team. He has not had a good start to this season at all. Now, listen. Like I said, this is going to be all coming from emotion. I've told you guys in the last podcast, I'm going to wait until the 20-game mark to do hardcore evals of any player of the team, etc. But again, we're being emotional here. Cade has not played well at all to start this season. He's struggling mightily with his efficiency and his shooting stroke. I don't know what's going on with his shot. Not just his three-point shooting, but his mid-range shots. All of them are super long. They're all hitting back iron, and I don't know what's going on with him. Even around the basket, he hasn't had the same touch around the basket as he had this past season. So he's struggling mightily, man. He's struggling. It is what it is. I know we all love Cade, and we love Cade's people and all of that. And Cade, this is not me coming on here saying that we need to just give up on Cade Cunningham. No, we're close to it. I still believe Cade's going to be a future MVP in this league, and Cade's going to be the face of this franchise. But that doesn't mean you can just ignore and absolve him when he deserves criticism. He deserves criticism for how he's played thus far this year. He's not efficient. He's having some really bad turnovers. They've done a good job at limiting turnovers as a team, but some of Cade's turnovers, especially against the Wizards last night, they were bad. They were just straight up awful decision making and just kind of like dumb turnovers by Cade. He had 19 points in this game against the Wizards, but he shot 7 of 19 from the floor, 0 of 2 from deep, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. He had 3 turnovers in this game. It's not great. It's not great. I think the best way to go about how bad of a start it's been for Cade this year is that through the first 4 games of the season, Bojan Bogdanovic has clearly been the best player on the Detroit Pistons. And I told you guys before the season that Bojan would be a top 2 player, would probably be their second best player. I did not think he was going to be better than Cade to start the year, but he has been by far. He's been by far the best player for the Pistons this year. And Cade's going to turn it around eventually. He's eventually going to do it. I haven't lost hope in Cade. This isn't going to sway me too far to the, Cade isn't really him crowd. No, Cade is still him. He's still going to be the face of the franchise. But it's been 4 games. We've had to watch 4 games, and it's okay for us to be emotional and talk about it, and criticize him when he deserves criticism. And he has to be better. Defensively, he has to be better. He has to be more consistent defensively. He has to be smarter offensively. And he has to get more paint looks offensively. And there was a lineup to start, actually not to start. It was midway through the third quarter. Dwayne Casey went with a lineup of Cade, Killian, Bojan, Isaiah Livers, and Jalen Duren. And that lineup, Cade looked the best in that stint than he has probably, I would honestly say, all year. He didn't make as many shots as he has in other stretches, but I thought in that stint right there, they actually looked like a functional offense, and Cade looked really comfortable because he had proper spacing. He had a secondary ball handler in Killian, and he had a lob threat in Jalen Duren to take pressure off of him and put pressure on the rim and actually to set screens. Which, by the way, Isaiah Stewart doesn't do it. He doesn't set screens. I want you guys next game, or even if you guys have any way to go back and watch this past game, I want you guys to watch every screen Isaiah Stewart sets. He doesn't make contact on 95% of them. It's mind-blowing. Why? I don't understand it. Running the pick and roll with Isaiah Stewart is like trying to get ice water in hell. Like it's literally just a straight up disadvantage. He's not making contact with Cade's defender barely ever. He's rolling too fast, and plus he doesn't put pressure on the rim because he can't catch a drop off and finish. So you combine all of that into one. It's making life even harder on Cade, Jane Ivey, whoever the hell it is that's doing a pick and roll with him or coming off a DHO. You have to make contact on these damn screens. Make contact, please. But anyways, what I was saying was in that lineup, in that stretch, he had a lob threat. He had a guy who was actually making contact on screens, and Cade looked hella comfortable, and he was getting to his spots much more easier. Expecting Cade to go ISO the entire game, which, by the way, I don't understand why the hell they were doing this. They were having Cade go ISO against the Washington Wizards' best defender in Denny Avila. I don't understand why that was a game plan. Why can't we get Cade some mismatches? Listen, Cade hasn't played well to start the season. That's the whole point of this first segment. He deserves criticism. He's not perfect. He doesn't get absolved from criticism. He hasn't played well. But can we not ISO Cade against the best perimeter defender every play? Can we get him mismatches? Can we run some sets to get him some favorable mismatches? Can we get him hooked up against Monty Morris? Can we get him hooked up against Bradley Beal? Hey, can we get him hooked up in a mismatch against Daniel Gafford? Can we get him a favorable matchup instead of giving him the ball and just saying, here you go, try to score against the best perimeter defender every single night. And, we'll throw you a screen every now and then, but not really because the guy setting the screen won't really set it. And now you're just having to go against 2 people at the rim. Can we give him some help? Can we do some smart things? Can we run some off-ball screens that can get and actually set the screen on the off-ball? Can we run some off-ball screens to get Cade against Monty Morris in the post? Can we get him against Monty Morris on the perimeter? Can you actually make contact with the screen in the pick and roll so the center has to come up and respect Cade so Cade can then draw him back out and go ISO against the center? Can we get him some favorable matchups? Please. Can we make life easier on him? Cade's not playing well, but for the love of God, can we try to help him out? Because right now we're not giving him a lob threat on the floor. We're not giving him something to set screens, and okay. Let me relax. Listen, Cade Cunningham, he has not played well. He has to play better. He needs to own that. He's not shooting well. He looks like he's taking somewhat of a step back to start the year, shooting-wise. And around the basket, he hasn't had the same touch. But for the love of God, can we help a man out? Can we help him out? Give him a functional lineup. Can we get him some mismatches? And for the love of God, can you please make contact on screens? That's all I'm asking. When we come back, we'll move away from Cade Cunningham, and we'll talk about some of the other things that are just not going well, that are not going right to start this season for the Pistons. It's going to be a long podcast. It's going to be a long episode, man. We'll talk about all that when we come back. But first, I got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available for your small business. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. And it's just so easy to do. You simply add your job and the purple hiring hashtag frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skill set and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire for your small business. And it's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find qualified candidates you want to talk to faster, easier, and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on our podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button at the YouTube channel. Leave a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's the best way to support this podcast. And listen, man, this is a safe space for all of you guys as well. All the Locked On Pistons community, tweet at me your emotions, man. Get it all out. Comment in the YouTube section down below how you're feeling. Get it all out, man. It's only been 4 games, but we're going through it already, man. We're going through it. It's tough, man. And before we get into any other players, I just want to talk about the overall focus and effort by this team. Their transition defense, and listen, they're a young basketball team. They don't have many good defenders to begin with on this team. We've talked about that plenty. But transition defense being this bad is not about having bad defenders. It's not about being young. That's just about effort. The fact that there's only one person back damn near off of every defensive rebound is wild. It's unacceptable. The opening play to the second half, the Pistons let a wide open backdoor happen. How? That's not about having good or bad defenders or being a young team. Teams are routinely just getting easy buckets against the Pistons. They're not even having to run anything complex. They're just getting easy looks. They're getting easy shots in transition over and over. I've never said this about a Dwayne Casey team. The one thing about a Dwayne Casey team that you could say over and over and over, you can argue his X's and O's. I've done it plenty. You can argue his rotations. I've done it plenty. You could never question the effort and focus and relentlessness of his teams. They always played hard for him. Through 4 games, listen, I don't want to sit here and say guys aren't playing hard, but I don't know what the hell else to call it when there's only 1 to 2 players back on defense every possession. Like, what else do you want me to call it? Like, I don't like calling out players effort-wise because they don't get to the NBA from not trying. But my God, like, I don't know what else to call it. Like, there's no reason why, whether you're a good or bad defender, why there should only be 2 defenders back in transitioning and they're being forced to play 4-on-2. It shouldn't happen this many times. For it to happen this many times within a game for the Pistons is unacceptable. It's just straight up unacceptable, man. I just want to talk about that for a second because we've never questioned effort with the Dwayne Casey team, but I don't know what else to call that. You have to question that. That it's just tough. And next thing I want to talk about, listen, you guys know I've been one of the biggest believers in Killian Hayes. And I want to remind you guys that I said this is going to be straight emotion, this podcast. We're getting our emotions off here. I'm still holding every player to the 20-game sample size before we get to anything. Do we get to the hardcore evals? But Killian, it's getting close, man. It's getting close to having to pull the plug. It's getting close to a point where I'm going to have to take the stance of, I'm a fan of yours. I want to see you succeed. And every time you do something cool, and every time you do succeed, I'm going to be happy as hell. But I'm not going to be expecting it from now on. It's getting close to that point. It's getting close to me having to stop believing that he's going to eventually turn this corner. It's getting close to the point where I'm going to have to stop expecting him to turn this corner. I'm just going to end up accepting that he just isn't it. And if he does become it, I'll be happy as hell. And I'm going to continue to root for him and be happy for him each time he succeeds and each time he does something good. Each time he has a good game, I will be happy as hell still. I still want to see him succeed. And listen, it's 4 games. We are extremely early in this season. He has time to turn this around. But my God, you could not have started this season any worse. I think he played the worst game of his professional career against the Washington Wizards last night. It was putrid. And the other games haven't been all that better. This has been one of the worst starts Killian Hayes could have had to his season. Actually, it is the worst start. And maybe that should give some, I guess that's the only area for hope because he's never played this bad. So he has to go up from here. But my God, against the Wizards, 0 of 6 from the field, 0 assists, and 4 turnovers. You can't do nothing with that. You can't. You cannot do nothing with that. He's shooting 11% on the season. Like, listen, it's 4 games. He could go out tomorrow, shoot 5 of 5, and I think that would probably boost it up to like 40%. Like one good game could boost it up high. But listen, this first 4 games have been putrid, horrific. And if he doesn't be careful, he's not going to get to the 20-game eval mark with Dwayne Casey. If he's not careful, he may not make it to game 10 in the rotation. Dwayne Casey might yank him. That's how bad he's playing. Listen, I want him to have every opportunity. I want him to have every chance to be able to prove everybody wrong this year. This is his year to do it. But if he's not careful, I still believe that people should get 20 games. You should get the 20-game eval and then evaluate there. But he is playing so bad right now that Dwayne Casey may be left with no choice but to sit him for at least a game to try and let him know, listen, you have to turn this around. I can't keep giving you minutes. He may sit him down for a game. I could see that happening soon. He may not play tomorrow. He may not play in this next game just because Dwayne Casey wants to send a message to him, listen, you're going to get back out there, but you have to be better than this. You're better than this. You have to do better. And part of me wants to sit here and say it's insane for any of us to be sitting here making any kind of takeaways or any kind of evaluations after 4 games. And that probably is true for us to be sitting here like this after 4 games. It's crazy. It's crazy to do it. But my God, it's been bad. I'm the biggest Killian believer out there. And it's been bad. It's been horrific. Like, hey, it hurts to say that. This is a depressing podcast for me. I don't want to say this stuff about Killian, bro. Like, I wanted him to come out this year and show off. And he looked so good. And I thought he was going to be so good to start off because in the preseason, he was doing things we hadn't seen him do. I have yet to see – in the preseason, we saw him use his body, get to his spot, and use his body to shoot over the guy. A little layup or hook or whatever you want to call it, 8 to 10 feet away from the rim. He was doing it consistently. I've yet to see him do it one time in the regular season. What the hell happened? He hasn't done it once. Like – I don't know what to tell you, man. I have nothing to say. I can't defend him no longer. I can't defend him after these 4 games. Now, if he comes back and has a good 5 games, then I can come back on here and be like, okay, it was just a bad start. He's getting into it. Hopefully this is more consistent. Hopefully he starts to play like this moving forward. I hope that's what happens. I hope eventually he has a stretch where he starts to pick things up and he starts to turn it around. But like I said in the last podcast, he's going to have to start turning it around soon because I don't know if Dwayne Casey's going to continue to allow him to play this bad. There's a difference between struggling and playing this bad. When's the last time listen, Killian isn't a great scorer, but when's the last time we've seen Killian not have any assists in a game? 4 turnovers and no assists. I don't think we've ever seen that. Like, listen, man, it's sad. It's sad for me to do this, but we're getting close to the point, and we're early in the season, but we're getting close to the point in the season to where I might have to just take the stance of, I want to see you succeed. If you do succeed, I'm going to be the happiest person ever. I'm still going to root every single time you do something great. But I'm going to stop expecting it. It's getting close to that. And it sucks to say that, man. Sucks to say that for someone like me who's a big Killian fan, man. Big believer in his. Trade him to the Spurs. Trade him to a team like the Spurs where they're completely tanking. Maybe he can get like 20 to 30 minutes and be with a good developmental program, and maybe him just being able to play 20 to 30 minutes a night for a tanking team with no expectations, no pressure, whatever. Maybe then he's able to turn around for that team. Maybe then he's able to turn around his career. I think that maybe that might be best for him at this point. Maybe he turns around the next 5 games. I hope so, but I think that might be the best outlook. this is just pure emotion, man. I'm going to come on this next podcast and be like, listen, guys, it's been 4 games. I know it too. I'm going to do it. As soon as these emotions go away, I'm going to come back on the next podcast and be like, okay, everybody, calm down. It's been 4 games. But it's been so bad from not just Killian, but the Pistons that I can't come on this podcast today and sit here and act like with you guys. There's no reason to sit here and be upset and no reason to be emotional. Like, it's been horrific what you're seeing. This isn't just young team stuff. Here's what it is, man. When we come back, I want to talk about Isaiah Stewart and Saddiq Bey. I want to talk about those 2 guys when we come back. Tough podcast today, man. But first, I got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number 1 source for betting football and the start of the new basketball season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every single game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport that's out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, golf, tennis, NBA, NFL, college sports, women's sports, all of it. You can check it all out at betonline.net. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about their trends in action today. If you head to betonline.net and you look at the basketball section, you can see that they got MVP odds. They got 6th Man of the Year odds, Rookie of the Year odds, Best Team in the League odds, Championship odds, Worst Team in the League. All that stuff already over there at betonline.net. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about their trends in action today. BetOnline, where the game starts. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. All right, so listen, guys. This is. I'm just gonna let you guys know this right now. Next week, I'm going to be sitting here telling everybody, okay, we all have to calm down. That's probably what I'm going to be telling you guys. Because it's extremely early into the season. It's wildly early in the season. And the Pistons very well could turn this thing around. But we can't sit here and not talk about what we've seen through the first 4 games. And what we've seen through the first 4 games from Isaiah Stewart. His box score stats don't look horrific. 13 points, 10 rebounds. 5-11 from the floor, 104 from deep. It's not bad. Not terrible. But I think Dwayne Casey has to. He's going to have to start considering soon. Because I don't see this changing. This is the difference with this one. This is not one of those things you can say like, okay, 20 games into the season, let's see how this looks. This is something I told you guys was going to be a problem to start the year, all off season. This is something I told you guys was going to be a problem all year. I don't see this changing. So I think Dwayne Casey's going to have to try to find a way to fix this. And it primarily is an Isaiah Stewart issue. The problem with Stu is that they want him shooting threes. And for his own development, that's fine. For his own development, him having 1 of 4 nights and then having a 2 of 5 night and 1 of 4, 2 of 5 night again, that's fine for his own individual development. But in the process, you may be hurting other players on the court by this, because when he's spotting up, teams are not respecting him. It's almost like the Russ and AD situation in LA. When he's spotting up, the other team's guy is sitting in the paint. And again, for Stu's own development, that will be fine, because if he can shoot 1 of 4 one game and then 2 of 5 the next game, he can end up shooting around 33% from the field or from the 30, and that'll be fine for his development. So for Stu, it's okay. But you have to start looking at it from the other player's perspective. Cade is driving into 2 defenders. Ivy is driving into 2 defenders. Saddiq needs to make way better decisions with the ball in his hands. But even Saddiq, still, he's driving into 2 defenders. Bojan driving into 2 defenders. It's making life tough for these other ball handlers, for these other drivers. And it's not just the spot-up shooting that's really hurting it. What's hurting the half-court offense, and even Cade, I think Cade the most, what's hurting them the most is the fact he doesn't set screens. He has to make contact on these screens. I know screens don't pop up in the box score, but I promise you, I've never appreciated Andre Drummond's screening more than I have watching Isaiah Stewart set screens. Never in my life would I think that I would be on a podcast. I would be somewhere talking about how important screens are. But for God's sake, I'm on here doing it today. I think I counted on maybe one hand how many times Stu made contact on screens. I think maybe it was twice. All the other times, he doesn't even make contact. And by doing that, the defender you're screening feels no pressure to get over a screen. He just stays attached to whoever's coming off of it. And you might as well not even run pick and roll. You might as well just run an isolation. It's tough. And then you combine that with the fact he's not putting pressure on the rim when he's rolling to the rim, because most of the time he's rolling too fast. He doesn't have he doesn't have great timing in the pick and roll. You have to have nice timing on your rolls, especially, and really chemistry as well, especially with Cade Cunningham. He's rolling too fast before Cade really gets to his position, so the big man's not really having to pick a side. So you have that. You have the fact that he's not great in the dunker spot. He's not putting pressure on the rim as a lob threat. He missed the lob today. Ivy threw him a lob. He wasn't able to get it and get up high enough off the ground to complete it. So you have all of that working in to the Pistons half-court offense, and it's really, I think it's affecting Cade Cunningham the most. Teams are pushing Cade out, forcing him to take longer twos. Teams are pushing Cade out, forcing him to take a lot of mid-rangers. Teams are forcing Cade to have a lot of tough finishes around the rim. And consistently, I think Cade is consistently having to go against tough matchups. And listen, great players, yes, great players are able to score against tough matchups. But even the great players, they seek out mismatches. Luka seeks out mismatches. LeBron seeks out mismatches. Steph seeks out mismatches. That's how they score. Because when you seek out a mismatch and you're able to destroy a mismatch, it forces the defense to have to bring a double. They have to focus their attention on you. Opens up passing lanes, opens up cuts, opens up kickouts, all those kind of things. When you're able to get your best player in advantageous situations consistently. And the Pistons are not doing that. And a lot of that, I feel like, draws back to Stu. So I don't know how the Pistons are going to solve it. It may be something they just have to deal with the rest of the year. Because it doesn't matter how good Stu shoots this year, defenses are not going to change the way they play them. Because they're going to say, okay, a layup for Cade Cunningham or a three-pointer for Stu. Oh, we'll give up the three to Stu. He's probably only going to shoot 32% on it. Is he going to hit enough threes to make us pay for it? Probably not. And we'd rather him do that than give Cade Cunningham open layups. So that's what teams are doing right now. So I don't know what the solution to this is. I think it's just it might just be something that they have to deal with the rest of the year. Or Stu can just freaking improve at setting screens and just make it an effort to get a body on screens. His shooting isn't the biggest issue. It's the fact that he's not touching nobody on screens. That's the biggest issue. It's tough right now, man. When Killian Hayes is being benched for Kevin Knox at the beginning of the fourth quarter, that's how you know we got a problem here. It's tough, dude. And the Bradley Beal was laughing at the Pistons again after an and one. If I have to see the Pistons get laughed at again by an opposing team en route to a loss, I don't know if I can watch another game. I don't know if I can handle it. You're not just losing. You're getting laughed at. I don't get it, bro. I can't. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'll do it again. But in positive news, Bojan is every bit the player we thought he was going to be. Oh my God, I can only imagine if Troy Weaver didn't make that. Imagine if Troy Weaver did not make that trade for Bojan. Oh my God. I can only imagine what this season would look like so far if the Pistons did not have Bojan Bogdanović, dude. Whew. I don't know, guys. I don't know, fellas. Guys and girls. I don't know, man. This opening 20 games, dude, is going to be rough for the Pistons too, man. I don't know where they turn it around at. You got Hawks, Warriors, Bucks again, Cavs, the Thunder maybe. Thunder is a winnable game. Celtics, Knicks again, then Celtics, Raptors, Clippers, Lakers, Kings, Nuggets, Jazz maybe, but Jazz look like they're good. Jazz, Suns, Cavs, Knicks again. This. If the Pistons aren't careful and some dudes don't start to turn it around quick, at the 20-game eval that I'm talking about, that you look back on it at 20 games, the Pistons may be looking at a 3-17 record. I know I've said 20 games to be fair to people, but they better be careful, because this thing could get out of hand quickly. It could get out of hand quickly if they're not careful. They need to start doing something soon. Starting tomorrow against the Atlanta Hawks. Good luck. I hope it's just a better watch, man. It has to be a better watch because that's the big thing, right? That's what we were talking about all off season. They may lose, but they're going to be a fun team to watch. They have not been fun. This is not. I can promise you that. I can promise you guys right now, I am not having fun. I'm not having fun watching. So that's all I've got, guys. If you guys want to vent, get all of it out in the YouTube section down below or tweet at me. This is a time to vent early in the season. We need a team meeting. We all need to huddle and just get it all out. And hopefully we can move forward better and have some more fun moving forward. I'm going to go watch this Warriors-Suns game to watch some fun basketball, some good basketball. I advise you guys to do the same. But until the next podcast, I'll see you guys later. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Hit that subscribe button at the YouTube channel. 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Until next time, guys, hopefully the next podcast I'm saying something. Hopefully we're at least having fun in this Hawks game. So I'll see you guys then, man. Stay safe out there. Cheer up. I know all of us probably are struggling right now, but cheer up. Everything's going to be okay. Hopefully. I'll see you guys later. Peace out, everybody.